On behalf of the Tourism Authority and that of the Sustainable Island Mauritius project, I wish you all a warm welcome this morning. The Sustainable Island Mauritius project is an initiative of the European Union under the Switch Africa Green Programme and has been kick-started since July 2018. It aims at assisting the tour operators to review their modus operandi, to include the handprint concept, and thereby encouraging their whole value chain to in turn adopt the best practices in terms of sustainability. The Mauritius Pro Handprint Innovation Framework, commonly known as MOFI, has been developed and is a hands-on set of standards that considers approaches to limit footprints on the environment, while on the other side developing marketable handprint products that support inclusive tourism, social stability, cultural and heritage enhancement, economic benefits to the value chains, indirect and induced businesses. Although all the ingredients of sustainability are present within the MOFI, it, however, lacks a proper formal recognition. In that respect, it was logical to us to support the local set of standards from the Mauritius Standards Bureau, the more so that these have been developed in consultation with the tourism actors. In these challenging times, we have also been taken to the task about producing and consuming local as one of the very first initiatives in mitigating the impacts of the global pandemic. The locally developed standards are on the same line as any other internationally recognized standards by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and thus beneficiate the same reputation and credibility to the international markets. Ladies and gentlemen, as sustainable tourism is a new type of product for some of us, it was important to collect data from tourists themselves who have been visiting Mauritius. The Sustainable Island project collaborated with the University of Mauritius in developing a questionnaire that met the tourism sector's quest for reliable data. The Tourism Satisfaction Index has been produced by Dr. Robin Nunku, Associate Professor from the Department of Management, and his team with the support of ATOL. Consultations with our steering committee, comprising of the major tourism associations, have resulted into a complete and tangible survey which encompasses many of the missing data, essential for the sector to compete in a dynamic paradigm. We shall now invite Dr. Nunku to have a short presentation of the results with particular focus on what tourists had to say about the sustainability of
specific objective is to assess service quality at sectorial level. And you will agree with me when we talk about service quality, our overall service quality on a destination is made up of service quality perception of the different sectors. Transportation, accommodation, shopping, and that all overall determine our service quality at the end of the consumption process. Now, we also assessed the tourist satisfaction at the sectoral level based on the different components of the tourism sector and the overall satisfaction. And most relevant to today's workshop, we also assess travelers' perception of sustainability. Okay, and this would be the focus of my presentation. Okay, and as I say, this part is just part of the bigger project that we are currently completing at the university. Now, I think I need not emphasize the importance of customer satisfaction and service quality for the tourism sector. Okay, we all know now destinations are substitutable now. Travelers have the option of choosing between various destinations. If they don't like Mauritius, they can choose any other destination easily. So we are operating in a highly competitive environment. And as time progresses, such competition are becoming even more intense, requiring us to focus a lot on how do we improve customer satisfaction? How do we improve service quality? Okay, and it's common knowledge that customer satisfaction, service quality, they are all the requirement for a destination to be competitive, for a destination to be successful. Okay, I think this is well known to everyone, not only in the academic literature. Now, we are not new in developing a tourist satisfaction index. Okay, it's been developed in several parts of the world. Now, what I've given you in here is the tourist satisfaction index, okay, for America. Okay, well, that's for Americas, but this is what Hong Kong does. Okay, Hong Kong has a well-established tourist satisfaction methodology, and it's already there. And this is just an example of how American tourists traveling to Hong Kong, okay, that's their overall satisfaction. So we are developing a similar index in a way we can compare ourselves to other countries as well and see how well we are doing and which areas requires improvement and in which areas we are lagging behind. Okay, that's for the European one, still developed by Hong Kong. Okay, it's developed by Hong Kong Polytechnic University, so it's a well-established methodology, and you'll also find they have also assessed satisfaction sector-based, and we are also following the same methodology. Okay, so we are not reinventing the wheel, so we will be able to compare, and Hong Kong does the study every year, okay, to monitor satisfaction, and obviously with proper marketing, you would expect that satisfaction will improve over the years. Now, obviously, I'll now come directly to the methodology we used, okay, and this is very important to ensure that we have a rigorous data set, a reliable data set that demands a reliable and sophisticated methodology. Now, we used a survey-based method. Okay, now most satisfaction index that has been developed around the world have relied on survey as an effective method of collecting data, and that involved training researchers, training our interviewees to collect the data. And obviously in here, as I say, the question we design in the survey are well established in the literature. They are reliable, they are valid, and would give us the result that we require for policy making in Mauritius. I think I did mention we did not reinvent the wheel. We followed existing methodological principles. Okay, we followed what existed in the literature, the good practices, and obviously we adapted those good practices to suit the Mauritian context. Very important, when did we collect the data? We collected the data from departing travelers, and this is where Atoll helped us a lot. So Atoll collected the data on our behalf from departing tourists. Okay, so they were in the departing lounge at the SSR International Airport, and they were surveyed there. Now, why this is important? Because we are surveying them at the end of the consumption process. They've already consumed the Mauritian product, and then we are surveying, and methodologically, that brings rigor to the responses that they are providing. Okay, and we used a quota sampling. Why a quota sampling? You will all agree with me that Mauritius receives travelers from different nationalities. Okay, and we've selected our respondent based on those nationalities. Okay, for example, let's say if tourists from France represent 30% of our tourist arrival, so around 30% of our sample would be French travelers. So in this case, in such a way, we can easily compare the result of our study to the wider tourist population that travel to Mauritius. Well, obviously, I'm not going into those details because I've already explained that. I think also importantly, the questionnaire was designed in English, in French, in German, and in the Chinese language. Okay? And we use the methodological principle to translate those questionnaires to ensure reliability and validity of data. Now, we collected greater than 1,000 responses, which is quite a lot, okay, given the resources we had. And again, here I would place on record the support of Atoll. Now, the result, that's the demographic profile, and obviously male, female, and this is in terms of the nationalities, and as you will find, they generally represent, okay, the travelers base that come to Mauritius, okay, British, Moino, French tourists, and that in terms of travel party composition, so that's the mean value, which means that on average, okay, people travel to Mauritius with at least 2 members in the party composition. That number of previous visits, okay, so we have quite a lot of repeaters as well. So on average, they visited Mauritius 2.5 times. Okay, that's the result in terms of very descriptive sample profile. Now, most important part, we asked them about the sustainability perception. We asked them how far they believed that sustainability is incorporated in the different activities in the Mauritian tourism sector. And you will find these are those activities. So we asked them, here's the question actually, the extent to which you agree that sustainability principles are incorporated in the following tourism activities. So 1, strongly disagree, 5, strongly agree. So the closer the value is to 5, the better are the responses. The more they felt sustainability principles were incorporated in our tourism activities. Now obviously, airport does very well. Obviously they use recycling water and also it does very well. Hotel, not surprisingly, do very well as well, okay, with the sustainability practices, waste management, environmental friendly practices. Now you will also agree with me, however, although they are quite positive, we've got room for improvement when it comes to sustainability of the land transport, sustainability of land-based recreational activities, sea-based recreational activities. Shopping received the lowest score. So we have room for improvement when it comes to sustainability practices and at least how our tourists perceive those sustainability practices. Now overall, that's the overall score, which is 3.98, so which is not too bad. Not too bad doesn't mean we cannot improve. As I said before, destinations are doing better than us when it comes to sustainability practices. So yes, we should be happy, but we also need to emphasize that there is room for improvement. Now, sustainability is not only about environmental sustainability, it's also about authenticity. Okay, the Mauritianness, as we say. Okay, the local ways of life, as we say. So that's very important. Because travelers now, they do not travel only for entertainment, they travel for what we call edutainment. The first party, they travel, they want to educate themselves, as well as entertaining themselves. But educating themselves about what? Educating themselves about the local culture, about the ways of life. So educating themselves about the Mauritianness. Okay, and this is what we asked in those questions. So how far they felt during their visit, they related, they connected to the Mauritian history. That involved also religious, spiritual experience. Obviously, I'm not going to read those questions, but I think you can gauge what we were trying to understand. Okay, and we are doing, okay, average, 3 is neutral, so 3.1. So again, there's room for improvement when it comes to providing an authentic experience to the travelers. Okay, so there need to be more the localness embedded in our marketing strategies, guys. Our festivals, our culture, our days, our daily ways of life, the contemporary culture. Okay, that needs to be incorporated in our marketing activities. That's what the tourist is looking for. And especially in the phase of globalization now. Okay, can we talk about the destination-specific culture? There are some destinations that the culture has been globalized, has been McDonaldized, as we say it. But in Mauritius, we still have the opportunity to include in our marketing strategies the element of localness. And that's extremely very important. And you will find that there's lots of room for improvement in here. We are doing well again, but obviously not well enough when we consider how competitive the travel and tourism industry has become, guys. Now, when we talk about sustainability, the biggest challenge comes, where do you get funding for it? How do you fund sustainability initiatives? So what we asked the tourists in here, whether they would be willing to pay more to get an even more sustainable product. And that's the question. So we call it technically the willingness to pay for sustainability. Okay, so obviously we asked them, we specific to hotels. So would they be willing to pay more to experience more sustainability experiences at the hotel? And you will find that the mean is 3.5, okay, which is above 3. So yes, most of them are willing to pay more. And this is, so strongly disagree, the 6.6%, 7.1%, they say, no, they are not willing to pay more. But we also have groups of travelers that are willing to pay more. So let's forget the neutral. So 44% plus 16%. So more than 50% of our travelers, they are willing to pay more to get a more sustainable product. And this is quite natural, guys, because when you look at what's happening around the world, the way psychology of travelers is developing, there's the notion of environmentalism. Okay, the care for the environment, the care for society has improved in the minds of travelers. So they are willing to pay more to actually experience a more sustainable product, and that's very important. Now, how do we do that? That's another thing. How do we market that? It's not just a question of imposing a sustainability fee. It's not going to work. We need to play with the psychology of the travelers, guys. We need to market that properly. So it's not easy peasy and just saying this is the result and just impose it. No, it's not going to work. We need to have a proper mechanism for it. Now, we also asked them how much they would be willing to pay. Okay, and this is the result. Well, 0% said they're not willing to pay anything. Okay, but if you look at those percentages, again, it's above 50% that they are willing to pay 1 to 5% more, 6 to 10% more. So again, this provides important policy implication, guys. Okay, the results are quite encouraging because yes, they are willing to pay. We also have been able to gauge to some extent how much they are willing to pay. Now it's just a question of embedding that in a proper marketing strategy, okay, and understanding the typology of travelers, understanding the behavior, and I think we can be effective, we can be sustainable, or at least perceive as a sustainable destination from the international travelers we receive. Okay, so I think this was the component that I wanted to focus on in line with the projects, with the workshops orientation. Okay, the bigger project, we're still about to complete it. Okay, so hopefully we'll have the opportunity to present the full result, okay, in due time. Okay, I'm happy if you have any question. Now, this is basically a simple statistical test that we did. So what we did in here, we actually wanted to find out whether those who perceive Mauritius as more authentic, do they also perceive Mauritius as more sustainable? Yes. So the more perception of authenticity increase, sustainability perception also increase. Which means to say that authenticity is a very important component of sustainability. Okay? Authenticity, willingness to pay. We also found those who perceived Mauritius to be authentic, they were also more willing to pay. Okay? So the more we invest in terms of making Mauritius more authentic, the more the travelers will be willing to pay. Same thing in here. The more they found Mauritius authentic, the more they were willing to pay more. Which makes sense. Which makes sense, guys. For that unique experience that you want to get, you will be willing to pay more. Same thing for sustainability. The more they perceive Mauritius to be sustainable, the more they were willing to pay. The more they found Mauritius to be sustainable, the more they wanted to pay as well. Okay, so I think there is some nice and interesting results in here. Okay, and I'll conclude here. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. And this is just the practical uses of the customer satisfaction index, how we can put into use. Okay, but again, we'll have an opportunity to expand on that. I'm happy to answer any question, any suggestion that you may have for us. Thank you very much.
I would like to Honorable Samuel Datbola, Minister of Industrial Development, SMEs and Cooperatives, His Excellency Mr. Vincent Duger, Ambassador of the Delegation of the European Union in Mauritius and Seychelles, Mr. Merlou, the Chairman of Mauritius Standard Bureau, Mr. Ravin Rampazat, CEO of the SME Mauritius Limited, Mrs. Sanda Boega, General Manager, Mauritius Standard Bureau, Dr. Robin Lenku from the University of Mauritius, distinguished guests from the public and private sector, beneficiaries of the Sustainable Certificate Scheme, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to you all. At the beginning of this next phase of the opening of our borders, this initiative, organized in collaboration with the SME Mauritius Limited and the Mauritius Standard Bureau, is most welcomed to look into one of the priorities of the Tourism Authority. as the regulator of the tourism sector, it is our duty to ensure that our licensees acquire necessary skills through training and capacity building to face an ever-changing industry which has been hit hard by the COVID-19 and most recently by the Wakasho oil spill. En français, on dit « gouverner, c'est prévoir ». Ce que M. Nenko nous a présenté aujourd'hui a probablement été fait avant la Covid. Et éventuellement, nous nous préparons aussi pour post-Covid, qui est vraiment, comme on dit, le new normal. Cependant, il est de notre devoir, aussi bien comme régulateur que comme ceux qui gouvernent le pays, de nous assurer que ceux qui travaillent dans cette industrie qui a une partie importante de notre PIB soient mieux armés pour faire face à la reprise que nous souhaitons sera le plus tôt possible. In its latest report, To Recovery and Beyond, the future of travel tourism in the wake of COVID-19, the World Travel and Tourism Council focuses on various analyses that demonstrate that tourism could be as never before. It states that 90% of the global population adjusted to life under travel restrictions, and others stayed home in fear of the virus itself. In fact, the industry has reached a near total standstill. Yet, travel and tourism leaders have remained strong and steadfast in front of this fierce adversity, like us. Further developing the topic, WTTC stresses on the fact that there are four intertwined trends emerging. First, travelers' preferences and behaviors have shifted toward the familiar, predictable, and trusted. Domestic vacations, extensive planning, and the outdoor will reign in the short term, with tourism businesses and destinations already adapting. Health, safety, and trust are paramount in this new era. Personal experiences, the fear of being stuck in another country, and concerns for distancing will guide consumer behavior in the short to mid-term. Businesses will have to collaborate even more closely with the extended value chains to ensure readiness. COVID-19 is proving to be an unexpected catalyst in the travel and tourism sector's quest for innovation and the integration of new technologies. Amid stay-at-home orders, digital adoption and consumption are on the rise, with consumers now expecting contactless technologies, among others, as a basic prerequisite for a safe and seamless travel experience. From widespread unemployment and anti-racism movements to the restoration of natural habitats, the world has been reinvigorated to tackle social, environmental, and institutional sustainability. In particular, heightened public awareness of wildlife markets and poaching has boosted advocacy for wildlife protection. Out of the key statistics analyzed by the WTTC, mention is to be made that 58% of consumers say they are thinking more about the environment since COVID-19, while 45% of air travel passengers are ready to shed their paper passports to digital identities. Ladies and gentlemen, we do acknowledge that the road ahead may appear uncertain. This is the reason why government is anticipating every single risk before a complete reopening of our frontiers. We firmly believe that our challenges can, at the right moment, be converted into opportunities, as Mauritius is one of the very rare destinations that can proclaim itself as COVID-safe, actually. Reinventing our sector has been part of our DNA for many years. From the traditional freest sun, sea, and sand to golf, wellness, green, mice, and others, we wish now to promote sustainable tourism. With the support of the delegation of the European Union, we have launched since July 2018 an ambitious project, the Sustainable Island Mauritius, which has since benefited to numerous operators. As at date, we have initiated trainings and skills upgrading to 350 taxi drivers, 600 tourism operators and in road gigs, 49 tour guides, 40 accommodation operators, nearly 50 operators in handicraft, and around 40 pleasure craft operators. We have completed the pilot phase with one tour operator, and as soon as our technical team from Germany will be allowed to come, we shall initiate capacity building sessions for a further 60 tour operators. Recently, we signed an MOU with Reef Conservation Society for the training of 200 operators impacted by the Wakasho impact on the marine biodiversity and on best sustainable actions to be adopted in a view of creating new activities. This training is due to start this very month of October. With regard to certification in sustainable tourism, we are adamant that our country needs to implement the best requirement. We are pleased to note that our local standards have been recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, which certainly will add value to the certified operators in their marketing strategy. In this context, the Tourism Authority, besides being one of the sponsors of the operators, shall be accompanying them in various aspects. As such, we shall be developing partnerships with two operators, OTAs, as well as the MTPA, to put in the limelight those companies who have been successfully certified. We shall, in the meantime, also accompany the operators in the process of transition with support from our German collaborators in a view of developing products that are tagged sustainable with added value. We have also met a few local consultants that have the knowledge and savoir-faire to accompany SMEs in their quest, and we shall be sharing their contact details with you very soon. The Tourism Authority, as you know, is bound by the Tourism Act. We are aware that to encourage further impactful sustainable activities, there would come a time that some of our legislations would need to be reinforced with sustainability criteria. Conditions to obtain a new license for the renewal of a license or for the hotel's star rating would be among the revisions that we foresee in the near future. That is why we are putting much effort now to empower the maximum of operators in leveling up their operations by being certified as soon as possible, and that at relatively no cost implication for the operator. Ladies and gentlemen, we are certainly moving towards a new era in the Mauritian tourism landscape. While we all agree on the legendary resilience of the sector and the Mauritian population at large, let us focus step by step in the rejuvenation of our tourism industry in its new normal. Ensemble dans le vide, tout seul dans le vide, ensemble dans le loin. Un petit peu, c'est un peu la démence de ce qui nous permet de faire aujourd'hui, parce que nous croyons dans l'avenir, nous faisons démontrer nos résiliences dans plusieurs occasions dans le passé, et nous croyons que malgré tout ce qui est obstacle qui est devant nous aujourd'hui, nous faisons réussir sur beaucoup d'obstacles dans le passé, et nous pouvons réussir sur ces obstacles-là aussi, pas seulement avec le gouvernement ou avec le secteur privé ou avec un opérateur, mais avec la population mauricienne qui vit tout le temps solidaire dans toutes circonstances. Merci de votre attention.
Monsieur le ministre du Développement industriel, des PME et des coopératives, honorable Untitled Chapter, His Excellency Monsieur Leger, ambassadeur de l'Union européenne, Maurice, Monsieur le directeur de la Tourism Authority, Monsieur Lindsay Morgan, Monsieur Sanjeev Molu, Chairman, MSB, Madame la directrice de la MSB, Madame Sandia Boyga, et représentants du secteur du tourisme, membres de la presse, mesdames et messieurs. Encore une fois, merci de me faire l'honneur d'être avec vous ce matin. On s'était vu il y a quelques semaines à Eben où il était question de politique de développement du tourisme et surtout du tourisme soutenable. Et nous avions aussi parlé de la nécessité par ces moments difficiles où le tourisme et l'économie en général sont frappés de plein fouet de resserrer nos liens entre institutions de support afin qu'on puisse mieux se préparer pour un futur qui s'annonce très très différent. Comme vous le savez, des centaines de PME, petits tours opérateurs, plaisanciers, compagnies de location, transport, de catering ou d'artisans sont très très concernés par leur futur. Il est de notre devoir de collaborer afin de mieux préparer l'avenir et ainsi améliorer la résilience future des pôles importants de notre économie, dont le tourisme. Je suis sûr que tout le monde y croit et je suis fier qu'on se revoie réunis aujourd'hui pour un autre programme commun avec la Tourism Authority, mais cette fois-ci avec le support précieux du Mauritius Standards Bureau. SMA Mauritius a toujours travaillé en étroite collaboration avec le Tourism Authority, par exemple sur la collaboration sur Sustainable Consumption and Production, l'organisation conjointe d'une formation des formateurs pour nous apporter plus de créativité et d'innovation dans la chaîne de valeur afin d'améliorer l'expérience du touriste à Maurice. Et maintenant, avec l'aide du Mauritius Bureau, un programme de certification MS 165 2019 pour les PME opérant dans ce secteur afin de promouvoir le tourisme durable. Dès le début, SME Mauritius a annoncé ses couleurs en se projetant comme étant l'institution de support par excellence qui va mettre autour d'une même table des institutions de support de notre pays afin qu'en travaillant ensemble, on puisse développer des synergies et ainsi apporter un apport bien plus soutenu aux PME. On avait mis comme objectif il y a à peu près 18 mois et très vite on a vu qu'en l'espace très restreint de 18 mois, on s'est mis au moins avec 18 institutions différentes qui travaillent de part et d'autre avec les PME afin qu'on puisse apporter en commun un programme commun de support à tous ces PME qui aujourd'hui sont en détresse. What is most important at this stage is to understand that we will not stay in this state indefinitely. There are two things that we can do. Sit down and think, and only think about the future. And number two, sit down, think, plan, strategize, and see how best we can get out of the problems that we are currently in. I think by adopting the second option, we are much better. And that's why I'm very happy, proud, privileged to share with all the people who are sitting here, stakeholders of the tourism industry, to devise and strategize on how best we're going to prepare our future. A future that we all know will be very different from the one that we've known. This is something that is known. But what is most important with this sustainable tourism is that we are setting new bases so that not only previously when we were talking about quality, we thought of how best we are going to satisfy the needs and requirements of our customers satisfactorily and to their expectations. Now this is something of the past. This was a concept that stood for approximately 20 years, but it is now a bit outdated. More and more is being asked of operators, whether in tourism or any other service sector, due to the fact that by nature it is intangible. The only thing that a tourist or a member, somebody, a customer in the services industry gets out with is an experience. And it's an experience which is internal, proper to him, inside his brain, a satisfaction. So if somebody goes into a bank, he comes out, you say, the only thing that how did you feel about the service that you got in that bank? Whereas if you go to a shop, you buy a Coca-Cola, you come out with a bottle and it is clearly written on it, Coca-Cola, a brand that you recognize. But in the service sector, due to the intangibility of in the nature, the inherent intangibility of services, it's extremely difficult to gauge the satisfaction of customers, except if we are proactive in our approach. And we ensure that through quality, we come to a state where we are confident that whatever we're giving with regards to services is one that not only meets, but exceeds his expectations. In other words, we are almost asking of you how to read the brain of people in order to ensure that when going out, they are happy with the service that you gave them and they'll come back in order for you to build customer fidelity over time. So it's an extremely daunting experience for people in the services sector, even more daunting because you are facing things that are not clear at this stage. And it is our duty as support institutions to be by your side. The reason why we have tagged ourselves with the Tourism Authority, with MSB, so that not only we develop sustainable tourism or any sustainable sector, but we also develop sustainable support that brings out synergies so that the joint effort made by each and every component of support within the ecosystem, we gain synergies from them and we become more effective and efficient. And every single rupee that is spent towards supporting SMEs is spent efficiently. It is in that context that SME Mauritius joined hands with the Tourism Authority, MSB, other support institutions, in order to improve, as much as you want to improve the experience of tourists, we want to improve the experience of SMEs with support institutions. And this is where we are aiming at. Our support as SME Mauritius not only is only that, but we have also devised 5 new plans, which I call new, to try and see how best you can make yourself, you can avail yourself of those plans. And I just go over it very quickly to give you an overview so that later on we will be able to talk to you further about it. First is, we have tried, there was a menu of schemes which were practically prescriptive and very often could not have met total satisfaction with regards to end users, meaning SMEs. So what we have done, we have changed it. Henceforth, what we have done with our support schemes, we have tried to map our support schemes to your value chain in order to give you the best possible chance of using our services, of using funds that are made available to you, provided you have a case for it. So we have one scheme which is called the Internal Capability Development Scheme. This scheme looks at your internal value chain. You cannot come up with a service at the end of your value chain if internally the intermediary parts of your value chain is not of a certain quality. And this is where we are intervening. There are several programs that are meant to support the development and the improvement of your internal value chain. And the internal capability scheme not only looks at quality, but also looks at other factors such as training, capacity building, or improvement in your resourcing, things that would help you to improve internally so that you can deliver optimally on your services. The second one is TINS, Technology and Innovation Scheme. Yet again, another one of the schemes that is very popular with SMEs because it looks at how you can update or upgrade your technology in order to help you get gains in efficiency, and in doing so, become more sustainable, more resilient with time. The third one is on the marketing aspect of SMEs. We are supporting SMEs on their marketing. There are certain programs that have been put in place by the EDB, and we have come up with, not to replicate what the EDB does, but all the smaller ones who are finding difficulties going to visit. Right now you can't travel, of course, but very quickly you will have to in order to be sustainable. We are also supporting you in visiting fairs and specific customers, but provided they are recognized ones. And we have the fourth one of the most powerful of our schemes is called integration. How is it that we can, all the while being different entities, all the while being from different ranges, how can we come together as an industry, work with each other, build capacity, improve our services, all the while remaining as independent entities? These schemes refunds up to 100,000 rupees to SMEs who are working in an established relationship with other SMEs in order to progress. So if you are in a sector, you are working and you have subcontracted another SME, not on a finished product, but on an intermediary product, and there is value creation that you are gaining, and you are joining hands together, we chip in and we reward you for that. All this to help you join hands together. Of course there will be competition, but also remember that there's a lot of virtue in collaboration. The fifth one is much more on utility connection scheme, a utility connection scheme, because there are many SMEs here. When you start a new project, there's a lot of initial capital outlay that you have to do when you go for connection to utilities. SME Mauritius has come up with a scheme that helps you there also, so please avail yourself of that. So once again, thank you so much to the Ministry of Tourism. I know that man is putting a lot of effort in it. Thank you so much, Mr. the Chairman. Thank you to the European Ambassador. to Mrs. Boyga of the MSB, and more importantly, to Honorable Bola, who has always given us his support when it comes to helping and going out of our way to help SMEs. Thank you so much.
Well, Mauritius Standard Bureau, the Bureau is responsible under the MSB Act 1993, as amended in 1999, for the promotion and provision of metrology, standardization, testing, quality assurance services within the national quality framework. Mauritius Standard Bureau is equipped with the latest technology in 7 testing laboratories, such as civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronic engineering, fiber technology, chemical technology, food and agriculture, and food microbiology laboratories. At present, we have 80 test methods offered by the MSB, which are accredited by Mauritius, the national accredited body of Mauritius. Vous allez me dire pourquoi Madame Bega parle de testing, laboratoire et tout, qu'est-ce que c'est rien à faire avec le tourisme quand même. Well, pour vous dire que today, ladies and gentlemen, the Mauritius Standard Bureau is embarking to offer its services to the tourist sector. For the first time, for sustainable tourism. Le MS 165 et bientôt on va faire le unveiling, on va launch the brand name, and on a baptisé le MS 165 parce que MS 165, vous allez me dire Mauritius Standard 165, c'est un petit peu que des chiffres et tout, et on va baptiser ça comme the Blue Oasis. Et on aura le privilège, for the launching, le ministre va faire le launching of the Blue Oasis and the logo in the coming few minutes. MS 165, which has received international recognition with the GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council of the USA. And as you all know, and Dr. Nanko has made a very nice presentation about sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism is the way of traveling and exploring a destination while respecting its culture, environment, and people. Today, it has become a priority for the tourism businesses around the world to maintain competitiveness, to satisfy a more demanding customer in the hospitality industry. And you know this better than all of us. Definitely, certification to sustainable tourism standard, such as MS 165, branded by the MSB as Blue Oasis, is a differentiator among competing tourism organizations. The Blue Oasis will be similar to some few sustainable certification schemes worldwide. Et là, messieurs et dames, ce projet est une étape importante pour un tourisme qui tient pleinement compte des impacts économiques, culturels, sociaux, environnementaux, actuels et futurs. Et en répondant aux besoins des visiteurs, des professionnels, de l'environnement et des communautés d'accueil. En effet, ces critères du Conseil mondial du tourisme durable, GSTC, ont été établis pour développer une compréhension commune du tourisme durable. Il s'agit des exigences minimales que toute organisation touristique devait aspirer à atteindre, et ces critères articulent autour de 4 thèmes principaux. Premièrement, la planification efficace de la durabilité. Deuxième, la maximisation des avantages socio-économiques pour la communauté locale. Troisième, la valorisation des patrimoines culturels, dans la présentation. Et quatrièmement, la réduction des effets négatifs sur l'environnement. Cette crise est une opportunité pour prendre un nouveau départ. Ce moment pour rassembler les industries touristiques, de rétablir la confiance de nos voyageurs. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me, the COVID-19 pandemic has not spared the tourism industry in Mauritius. We have noted that the activities in this sector of the economy has dropped to nearly nothing. Nevertheless, this drawback can be turned into an opportunity. Thus, it is high time to rethink and recalibrate our tourism industry through a rolling implementation plan with an ultimate worldwide recognition. One of the options is to move toward accredited certification of our operators to MS 165, that is the Blue Oasis. Ladies and gentlemen, in this optic, the Mauritius Standard Bureau is introducing Sustainable Tourism Management System Certification Scheme for hotels and accommodation, tour operators, and any tourism business. This scheme, our local tourism enterprises will be certified to MS 165, that is Sustainable Tourism Management Scheme, which is applicable for the SME as well as for non-SME also in the tourism sector. By adhering to this requirement of MS 165, an organization is ensuring that sustainability practices are in line with universal criteria for sustainable management, social and economic benefit to local communities, cultural heritage preservation, and reduction of pollution. To note, ladies and gentlemen, the third edition of MS 165 has officially gained full recognition by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, GSTC, since 26 April 2019. The GSTC recognized status means that the sustainable tourism standard developed by the MSB, MS 165, has been reviewed by the GSTC technical expert and the GSTC accreditation panel and is deemed equivalent to the GSTC criteria for sustainable tourism. Hence, MS 165 roves with sustainability at the heart of the destination. For your organization to be certified MS 165 and recognized worldwide, you will need to very few steps forward to satisfy and the following criteria. Initially, firstly, to establish a sustainable policy, strategies and objectives. Secondly, comply with the documents necessary to sustainable initiative. Thirdly, implement requirement of MS 165. Fourthly, engage in the certification process with the MSB for MS 165. And fifth, the last one, address gap and loophole if any. Once this process has been satisfied completely, your organization will be certified MS 165, that is the Blue Oasis. Hotels and accommodation and tour operators achieving this certification, this accreditation, will be listed in the GSTC website and will be promoted online travel agencies such as Booking.com, Agoda, Trivago, and Transat. Esteemed guests, for me, this MS 165 certification is a blessed marketing tool to revamp our tourism industry after COVID-19. In an outreach effort to this endeavor, the Mauritius Standard Bureau, together with its close collaborators, the SME Mauritius, the Tourism Authority, aim to support 60 SMEs. The Standard Council of the Mauritius Standard Bureau has decided to waive off an amount of 28 mil till end of 2021 to embark in this project, as well as our collaborators, the Tourism Authority and the SME Mauritius. At the end of the day, to get a certification of MS 165, the Blue Oasis, you two operators, we have no cost involved. Messieurs, dames, je tiens à souligner que ce projet vise à soutenir la communauté mondiale pour atteindre les 17 objectifs de développement durable, ODD, énoncés dans le programme 2030 adopté par notre gouvernement responsable, par nos institutions responsabilisées, de par les mandats respectifs d'entamer la décennie d'action. Pour terminer, mesdames et messieurs, je vous souhaite de profiter de cette scheme qui va aider chacun d'entre vous, que ce soit hôtels, accommodation, tour operators. Et je vous souhaite toute la réussite de ce projet pour le meilleur de l'industrie touristique à l'île Maurice. Merci pour votre attention.
C'est avec un grand plaisir qu'il m'adresse aujourd'hui à l'occasion du lancement de sa certification scheme urbain opérateur touristique. Comme un mot à dire, semaine dernière, dans Rivière des Créoles, lors de l'activité de voyage de la plage avec Tourisme Authority, protection de l'environnement lui concerne nous tous. Nous tous, nous visons à mettre la main ensemble pour protéger l'environnement. Ça veut dire gouvernement, société civile, secteur privé, l'université, nous tous visons mariés piqués, nous travaillons ensemble pour protéger la nature. This is just to reply to Professor about flavor of authenticity that you have evaluated in your scheme. Ladies and gentlemen, Minister, seeing so many of you operators here today sends a signal of hope for the environment and for the nature. You, the small and mid-sized enterprises, are here because you know that you have a key role to play in this global fight to preserve the planet, and by that, to preserve your own businesses. It is part of your global social responsibility. And you are particularly well placed to realize that because you are all directly or indirectly with the linked with the tourist sector. Tourists have since the beginning of the 1970s always been attracted by your country for its natural beauty. So preservation of this natural beauty and of the environment is of fundamental importance. And today, it is the attractiveness of Mauritius that is at stake. As you all know, Mauritius has always been and is still among the top destinations for European tourists. In 2019, 50% of tourists came from you, including from La Réunion. And you perfectly know why. Mauritius has so much to offer, from its natural beauty to its well-known hospitality, and I would add even gastronomy. It is therefore not surprising that tourists who come once often return to your paradisiac islands. In 2018, 36% of tourists who came to Mauritius had already been here before. And this is a very high rate, showing the quality of the services. Let me come to the main subject of today, the ISO 165 certification. You are here in your capacity as operators in the tourist industry, be it as tour operators or as owners of guest houses. The ISO 165 certificate that you have applied for will allow you to become, like me, ambassadors, but ambassadors of sustainable tourism in your country. Indeed, this certificate will assist you in adopting sustainable production practices. How? To obtain the MS 165, the Blue Oasis, understood now, is a new denomination, you as operators will have to demonstrate your undertakings in improving the social, the cultural, the economic situations in your value chain and in your communities, while at the same time safeguarding the environment. This shall be done by a re-engineering of your mode of operations and by developing sustainable packages. I wish here to congratulate the Minister and the Government, and in particular the Tourist Authority, for having the MS 165 certification approved by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. It means that it is recognized globally by all international tour operators. This is a very important milestone for your enterprises, because with this certificate, you have the key to enter a niche segment of the tourist market. Research is indeed showing that travelers who travel more to places that are proving to be sustainable, away from the crowded places, and where also going in areas where health and safety are placed at the high end of priorities. The certification will also give you a global competitive marketing edge, being on the Global Sustainable Tourism Council platform. And I can tell you that European tourists will surely pay a lot of attention to this certification. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, global tourism has undoubtedly suffered more than ever, and continues actually to suffer. Mauritius is unfortunately well placed to know that. I am, however, very pleased that during this quiet period, work did not stop. The Tourism Authority, with the support of the EU Sustainable Island Project, has worked not just to train operators and to acquire this important certification we are discussing today, but also to intervene directly during the oil spill to limit the negative effects, direct effects, and also the reputational damage. With these efforts, this will certainly allow the tourist industry in Mauritius to bounce back with even more vigor as and when borders fully reopen, as we are all hoping for. However, we need to be attentive to the fact that as world tourism resumes, you can expect an even fiercer competition among tourist destinations. For example, will the European tourists still choose to come to Mauritius, which is 11,000 kilometers away, or would they prefer to travel to closer destinations? This decision will depend on several factors, including on their purchasing power, but also on what more can Mauritius provide to attract these tourists. And sustainability is certainly that more that will count also in their decision. The EU is therefore particularly pleased to support this project because we are indeed matching demand with supply. Demand by European tourists for sustainable and green destination, and the capacity reinforcement of operators in Mauritius across the value chain to meet that precise expectation. Last year, our project has already supported a large number of taxi drivers and of tour guides in becoming an environmental ambassador. The Tourist Authority also signed last week, and Mr. Morvan alluded to it, an MOU with reef conservation to sensitize and train operators to work on the lagoon and the sea, for instance, skipper, with a view, notably, to preserve the mangroves. Today, ladies and gentlemen, it is your turn. My sincere congratulations. The EU itself has put sustainable development at the heart of its economic recovery plan in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The current crisis is an opportunity, as it was said before, to make the tourist industry more resilient and to strengthen the green and digital transformation of the EU tourism, maintaining Europe's standing as a leading destination and maximizing the industry contribution to growth and employment. Ladies and gentlemen, Minister, Europe targets to become the first carbon neutral continent by 2050 as part of our EU Green Deal announced in November last year by President von der Leyen. The European tourist industry is inevitably going to play a key role for the achievement of this carbon neutrality target in terms of traveling and in terms of accommodation. This will certainly bring a change in the mindset of the entire European tourist industry, where sustainability destination will become the norm and not the exception. The decision of Mauritius to go in that sustainable tourist direction therefore arrives at a very opportune time, and it aligns with growing expectations, at least from Europe. I would like also to mention that last week, President von der Leyen, together with more than 70 heads of states and government, endorsed the Leaders' Pledge for Nature, committing to 10 decisive actions to address the nature emergency. With this pledge, political leaders acknowledge that biodiversity loss, land and ocean degradation, pollution, resource depletion, and climate change are accelerating at an unprecedented rate, and that, unless halted and reversed with immediate effect, it will cause significant damage to global economic, social, and political resilience and stability. And as we all know, Mauritius would be a direct victim as a small island developing state. Let me conclude by saying that the key words here for me, therefore, remains mobilization at all levels. In this light, we must remain firm and strongly committed to sustainable development and to continue to promote economic growth with protection of natural resources. Donc pour terminer, en félicitant Tourism Authority pour son engagement continu et sans relâche pour promouvoir un tourisme durable dans Maurice. Donc pour content remercier aussi deux importants partenaires qui impliquaient dans sa certification ISO 165 là, notamment SME Mauritius Limited et Mauritius Standard Bureau. Je vous remercie les autres pour votre attention.
In fact, it is with great pleasure that I'm addressing you today on the occasion of the launching of the Sustainable Tourism Certification Scheme organized by the Tourism Authority in collaboration with SME Mauritius and the Mauritius Standard Bureau. Sustainable tourism is not just a rising travel trend. It is also becoming a priority, if not a moral imperative, for tourism businesses around the world. Increasingly, travelers and travel providers are seeking confirmation that sustainability practices are in place. In line with the Sustainable Island Mauritius project, certification to the MS 165 or 2019 standard has an ever-prominent role to play, consolidating our positioning as a high-level tourist destination while ensuring the sustainability of the industry. For this project, the Tourism Authority, SME Mauritius, and the Mauritius Standards Bureau are working together to help SMEs in the tourism sector to embrace the path of sustainability. The scheme is a part of the EU-funded Sustainable Island Mauritius project, which aims at the greening of the tourism value chain. The objective is to increase the number of tourists from the international markets by strengthening the sustainability skills and performances of selected Mauritian operators. At the wake of the recent challenges and considering the new traveling patterns, it is strongly believed that a sustained growth in the industry shall avail from the robust stand of the industry to position itself as a green destination through capacity building of the operators, leading to a recognized international certification. The scheme shall cover the cost of certification from the Mauritius Standard Bureau under the MS 169 2019 Global Sustainable Tourism Council (GSTC) approved certification. Under this agreement, a grant of 20,000 rupees shall be allocated to eligible organizations for a maximum of 60 participants, all SMEs, during this first batch of intake, split as follows: 40 operators in the accommodation sector and 20 operators in the tour operating sector. Ladies and gentlemen, being sustainable infers adopting the right practices to improve one's management processes. This will imply a shift toward the use of cost-saving technologies, gaining a competitive advantage through better efficiencies and reducing operating costs. At the same time, it demonstrates compliance with statutory and regulatory requirements and increased sales by appealing to environmentally conscious customers. Sustainable tourism does not translate into one company trying to do its very best in a given market, but rather it is the entire tourism industry that stands up to face the environmental and societal challenges by exploring ideas, solutions, strategies, and how to develop tourism businesses and manage operations in a sustainable way. There is significant work to be done to make the tourism industry in Mauritius an economically sustainable sector. It can be daunting, to say the least. But the truth is that every measure, every step taken towards sustainability at every level of the industry counts and is, in fact, crucial. My ministry is very privileged to support this scheme and hope that it will be very successful for our economy. The present project shows the commitment of SM Mauritius to improve the quality assurance of our services sector. The certification scheme in sustainable tourism will be a differentiating factor for the beneficiaries. This will imply that they are conducting their operations in such a way that meets the expectation of tourists. At the same time, it consolidates the reputation of Mauritius as a sustainable destination. Mesdames et messieurs, au cours des 5 premiers mois de l'année 2020, les arrivées de touristes internationaux ont diminué de plus de moitié, environ 320 milliards de dollars de recettes d'exportation tirées du tourisme ont été perdus. Un manque à gagner qui a eu des répercussions directes pour l'un des secteurs économiques les plus importants au monde. Des données de l'Organisation mondiale du tourisme, OMT, montrent que 100 à 120 millions d'emplois directs dans les secteurs du tourisme sont menacés. Dévasté par la COVID-19, le secteur du tourisme doit être reconstruit de manière sûre, équitable et écologique, selon l'appel lancé par l'Organisation des Nations Unies. L'ONU préconise de favoriser et de faciliter l'établissement de partenariats pour permettre aux touristes de contribuer à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. La relance et la croissance doivent être vertes. Le tourisme durable est une démarche qui peut être adoptée par tout acteur touristique en intégrant les principes du développement durable dans sa gestion stratégique et l'offre qu'il propose. Le tourisme durable relève aussi de la responsabilité individuelle des voyageurs dans leur comportement, gestes quotidiens et choix de prestataires et destinations. La durabilité est la nouvelle normalité. Il s'agit de l'un des éléments centraux pour le redémarrage du tourisme. C'est sur ce principe que la résilience se bâtira et se consolidera. Alors que le gouvernement et le secteur privé s'engagent sur la voie de la reprise, le moment est venu de continuer à progresser vers un modèle de tourisme plus durable sur le plan économique, social et environnemental. Je pense ainsi que ce plan d'aide pour la certification du tourisme durable vient donc à un moment opportun. Les détenteurs de ce label serviront d'exemple que d'autres opérateurs puissent emboîter le pas. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.